Hi, I'm Aaron Nelson with the Chamber for a Greater Chapel Hill Carborough, and I'm very excited to be joined by my friend, Rick Steinbacher. Rick Steinbacher is the Senior Associate Athletic Director at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, where he has worked now for 21 years. He is recognizable to many of you. You've heard his voice on the radio. You've seen him in person give presentations around our community, and we are so grateful for him to join us today and talk to us about what UNC Athletics, what Carolina Athletics has been doing to prepare for the upcoming season in the time of COVID. Rick, I really appreciate you being with us today and talking to us about what's going on in Carolina.
Aaron, it's great to be with you as always. Your friendship means the world to me, and the support of the Chamber and what they do for our entire community, and specifically Carolina Athletics, is so important to all of us at UNC.
Well, thank you, Rick. I appreciate you sharing some good information with us. I've seen this presentation earlier, and I was just blown away at the level of detail, the scenario planning of plan A and B and C and on and on. Can you show us a little bit about what you guys have been working on and how you're preparing for the upcoming season?
Sure, Aaron. I think, and I'll share some slides. So now it's the return to action roadmap. So Aaron, I'll walk you through this quickly at a high level, but please stop me if you've got a question. We wanted to make sure our athletics return to action roadmap was aligned as perfectly as it could be with the university's return to action roadmap. And I'll show you a slide that demonstrates that in just a minute. And we also wanted to follow the lead of Chancellor Kevin Guskowitz and all the leading infectious disease experts on our campus. We wanted to make sure we were taking advantage of all the great advice that they've given us. So what you're going to see is a phased approach in multiple phases. For us, phase one is staff, and I'll just touch on that for a minute. Phase two is student athletes, and then phase three is competition. And then we've even phased that with our fall sports coming in at a certain time, and then our winter sports, and then our spring sports. This slide here is intentionally busy and complicated. Restarting our athletics department after several months of being mostly shut down is going to be one of the most complicated and busy things we've ever done. We are 6 days into it now, and it's going extremely well. But we know that this plan is going to need to be flexible. And as the chancellor always says, we got to be ready to pivot anytime that we need to. But if you look at this slide, our return to action roadmap's in the middle. The Navy circles are just all the different subunits within our athletics department. We've taken into account all of their considerations and concerns. That circle at the top, the university considerations, guidance, and direction. You know, what UNC Chapel Hill decides, Kevin Guskowitz. What the UNC system decides, Dr. Bill Roper. That has the biggest impact on what we are doing in athletics. Certainly, their decisions have so much to do with what's going on locally. Orange County, town of Chapel Hill. What's the state of North Carolina doing? And what are the federal directives and guidelines? Off to the left on this slide, obviously in green, you know, the NCAA and the ACC have some decisions to make and have some guidelines that they have issued and will continue to issue. That impacts us, but not to the extent that our university decisions do. And then finally on this slide, over here in purple, Aaron, you know, these are all the things that we used to think about either very, very little or not at all. And now these things dominate our thinking. How do we keep our facilities disinfected, clean? We used to never think about physical distancing. We wanted to cram as many human beings as we possibly could into our stadiums. Well, now we have to think about physical distancing. How do we keep people 6 feet apart in Keenan Stadium, at Boshemer Stadium, in Carmichael Arena? So we're spending a lot of time on those things, and I'll touch on that a little bit more in a minute. And then obviously there's some other considerations that you see on there that we're spending a lot of time on now that we used to not. This is that slide that I mentioned that really is just simply meant to show our alignment with the university. The university's return to action roadmap has 6 main sections. Those are the ones in Navy. We in athletics have 5 that align specifically with the university's main sections. You know, the one in athletics that we don't participate in is research. But certainly we know that UNC Chapel Hill is one of the leaders in the world in COVID research. So wow, it's so great to know that they're ramping back up and getting more and more of the brilliant minds that work at this campus back on campus studying that problem. But you can just see here all the other sections of our plan and how they interact with the university's plan. This slide right here, a lot of things on here, so please nobody try to read it. It's really just to illustrate that phased approach that I mentioned. We've looked at every single one of our 22 sport programs. We've looked at all, I think it's 25 facilities that we have. And then we have 19 administrative units in Carolina Athletics. The ones you see in blue are the ones that have already started to come back. That's our football team, our men's and women's basketball teams. The ones in yellow are our fall Olympic sports. So football, men's and women's basketball, their return started 6 days ago. Again, as I mentioned, it's going extremely well. We are phasing the football players back because there's so many of them. But we've got about a third of the team back on campus already. Again, everything's going great. The players are wearing masks. They're physical distancing. They're working out. They're excited to be here. We are testing them. All of that's going incredibly well. A week later, we'll begin to bring back our fall Olympic sport programs. And then we're really asking all of our winter and spring sports. Over 60% of our student athletes, we're asking them do not come back early. Come back when the greater student body comes back to start classes on August 10th. So that week leading up to August 10th is when they'll come back. And you can see we've brought our facilities online along with those sport programs. And we're doing the same thing with our staff. So we're asking over 60% of our student athletes to remain off campus. We're doing the same thing with our staff. We're asking about 63% of our staff to remain in a mostly remote operation until the greater university community comes back to campus in early August. That's so we can just focus on both basketballs and our fall sports, make sure they're safe, make sure we're testing them, make sure we're taking great care of those student athletes, make sure they're taking great care of themselves as we return to an on-campus operation. Just real quickly, I'll touch on this. We've stressed really a lot to our staff that we're going to great lengths to keep them safe. We want our staff to be safe as they come back to campus, and we want them to feel safe as they come back to campus. So we're actually having a town hall meeting with the entire athletic department today and walking them through what is our housekeeping staff doing? What's our facility staff doing? What do we need you, each individual staff member, to do when you return to campus in common areas? How you enter a building, how you leave a building, how you use a break room. And we're telling them and we're giving them cards that say, here's your specific responsibilities. We call it safe and clean together. The point is we're all in this together to get back to a on-campus operation as safely as we possibly can. And then finally, I'll touch on game day, Aaron. For us, that's phase 3. I mentioned phase 1, staff coming back. We've been back on campus, the first group coming back for over 2 weeks now. Phase 2 is student athletes coming back. Our football players are leading that way, and they're in day 6. And then the third phase will be competition. And we're very excited about this one because this is when the community gets to come back and enjoy Carolina athletics with us. So here are some of the thoughts we're going through as we think about game day. We know there are many touch points for our student athletes on a game day. So we're mapping all of those touch points and thinking about how do we make them as safe as they possibly can. We know that our fans, when you come to our games, there are many, many touch points. How do you buy your tickets? What form is your ticket in? Do you hand your ticket to someone? We are going as mobile as we possibly can with ticket pedestal scanners. So many tickets will be on your phone and you just walk up, hold your phone to the pedestal, it beeps and you walk in. You're never trading a piece of paper or anything like that. We're thinking about that through the concessions operation. We got a long meeting on that today. Even buying merchandise or tailgating. We're thinking about how do we apply all the best practices from the CDC, from the state of North Carolina, the Health and Human Services Department. How do we take all of their advice about operating safely in a COVID world, or as safely as we possibly can, and apply that to game days in Chapel Hill? So we've really had a lot of meetings, and we're really working with all of our partners to do this as safely as we can. It's pretty amazing. It takes over 50 units other than athletics to host a football game in Kenan Stadium. So we're having a lot of conversations with all of them to make sure we're covering everything. We're thinking about how you come in and out of the stadium. Kenan Stadium has 6 main access points. How do we allow you to come into that stadium in a distanced way so that you can be safe and enjoy game days when they return this fall? Lots of signage. We've already put up signage in all of our facilities for our staff and our student athletes. We'll be doing that for our fans as well when they come into our venues. No different than what you see when you go to Target now, or when you go to the grocery store, or when you get lunch at Chick-fil-A. You see these signs everywhere, so we'll be doing them in our venues as well. Face masks. Orange County has passed the rule that everyone must have a face mask. We don't know what those guidelines will be come this fall, but we do anticipate there being an expectation, if not a requirement, of face masks. So we're already selling Carolina branded ones if you want one. And then we have many other different kinds of face masks as well. But I think social distancing, face masks, washing and disinfecting your hands, That's what we're telling our student athletes they have to do now. That's what's going to be so important for our fans when they come back as well, so they can enjoy game day safely. And then probably the final big thing that everybody wants to know is how many people we're going to let into the venues. We don't know yet, Aaron. There's been some talk. I think Texas originally said they were going to allow 25% of stadium capacity, and then they upped it to 50%. The state of North Carolina has made no determination on that yet. There have been NASCAR events, but with no fans. So we don't yet know what it'll look like in September. We are scenario planning based on a number of different factors. Obviously, we know how to have 100% capacity, but we are looking at what does 75% capacity look like? What does 65% look like? What does 50% look like? We have looked at lower percentages. We are hopeful that things will improve by late August, early September, so that it can be more towards the higher range. Our football season ticket renewals have been at 95%, and we've sold a lot of new ones. So there's a lot of excitement around all of our sports, and particularly football. So we're hoping that percentage can be as high as it can be. And quite frankly, we're hoping that decision doesn't get made until later this summer, once we see what things look like in August and what they project to look like in September. We're ready for whatever scenario, or we're ready for whatever constraints are placed upon us. And whatever they are, we'll make them as safe as we possibly can. And then obviously we're thinking the same thing with concessions, restrooms. Obviously when you come and enjoy a game day in Kenan Stadium or one of our other venues, there are so many different touch points like we showed in that map. We're going to do everything we can to make each and every one of them as safe, as comfortable, and as enjoyable as they can possibly be. And we know we're going to need to enforce things like masks, like social distancing. We like to joke that, I'm a big fan of Chick-fil-A. I probably eat there too much. Their service, Sammy at his new store, is unbelievable. But they do a great job. Our event management team does a great job being like Chick-fil-A, giving you a great product with great customer service. This year, they're going to have to not only be Chick-fil-A, they're also going to have to be the TSA and make sure that we do a great job of keeping people safe when they're in our venues by following all the best practices that are out there. So those are the slides. It was a lot of them, Aaron. I apologize for probably too much information there, but I'll stop and see if you got any questions.
When you all think about your facilities, how do you think differently about indoor activities and outdoor activities?
Very, very differently. Obviously, outdoor, we're even our indoor turf. We are disinfecting that turf every single day because it's indoor. We don't have to do that outdoor because the sun takes care of it for us. So we are thinking about them differently. We're really hyper-focused right now on our fall sports. And Kenan Stadium is outside. Durrance Field, where soccer is outside. Shelton Stadium, where field hockey is outside. Carmichael Arena, where volleyball plays in the fall. That's the one indoor facility that we're thinking about. So we don't know exactly yet what our protocols will be, but we're exploring a lot of things. We're actually having a demo of drones that can disinfect seating areas. So we're doing a demo of that on Monday. We were going to do it yesterday, but it was too rainy. We're going to do that on Monday because that could be a solution for Carmichael Arena. We could fly 2 drones out there after every event and disinfect those indoor surfaces, knowing that we don't have to do that as much with the outdoor venues.
That's fascinating. Do you think about if Kenan Stadium can't hold all 60,000 people, might people experience game day from the soccer? Might they watch football from the soccer stadium? Might you project it or put it on big screens?
Absolutely. Again, we're hopeful that capacity constraint is in the 65 to 75% range. At 75%, we could honor all of our season ticket holders and have a healthy number of students. Those are probably our 2 most important groups. I mean, there's other ones that are important, parents of our players, obviously, but those are the 2 big ones. If it gets below that, then we're going to have to tell some season ticket holders, we're either going to have to break up the ticket packages or somehow do some kind of priority system. If we do that, Aaron, we would love to do what you just suggested. Durrance Field, come watch the game on the video board and have that communal on-campus experience, but in a physical distanced way. So we're looking at a number of different ways to do that, including through tailgating, and we'd love to partner with the community on doing that too.
And when would the season start? When do you think football will start?
We're preparing as though it's going to start on time. Coach Brown told the team the other day, he said, guys, I don't know what's going to happen, but let's be ready as though this season is going to start on time. Let's control what we can control. So we're preparing as though we're going to start September 4th, Friday night down in Orlando against Central Florida, and then play Auburn in Atlanta on September 12th. And then we'd have our first game in Kenan Stadium on Saturday, September 19th against James Madison. So our first soccer games then would be in late August.
What is the likely testing protocol? You said you test the students as they arrive right now, and then with some frequency to make sure they stay healthy.
We're not testing all staff. Our rule for all staff is no fever, no symptoms, no heroes. If you don't feel good, don't come to work. I had to apply that standard to myself last week. I had a slight cough, something I would not have thought about in the past, but I decided not to come to work. And actually, I was scheduled to get tested the next day, and I got the negative result. But we're just stressing no fever, no heroes, no symptoms for everyone. We are testing all student athletes, and then we are testing all staff that work very closely with and directly with student athletes, so coaches, trainers, equipment managers, folks like that. We'll test the staff once asymptomatically, and then we'll test them based on symptoms moving forward. Student athletes, we're going to test them once, and then we're going to test them again 7 to 8 days later to make sure we get 2 negative tests on them. That's part of our protocol, Aaron, of after that first test, they can work out, but physical distanced. After that second negative test, we'll begin to let them do some more interactive sports-like things. Eventually, to play football, they have to tackle each other. And you cannot tackle people 6 feet apart. So that's our testing protocol for student athletes.
That's helpful. In our last final minute, what would you like from the business community? How can this community support you? If you had asks of our business leadership, what would you want?
I think our business community and our community in general has been so wonderful to Carolina athletics for such a long time. So I would say if you feel comfortable doing so, come to our games, be in our arenas. We're going to do everything we can to make it a safe, comfortable, enjoyable experience for you. So if you feel comfortable, come. If you don't, completely understand. I mean, we're all going through crazy times that we've never dealt with before, but continue to support Carolina. Fly that Carolina blue any chance you can. Be the welcoming, warm, awesome community that we are to our fans when they come here on game day, whether it's our fans or even when Duke's fans come. Be nice to them. And this community does such a great job of it already. So I would say just keep doing what we do in these challenging times. Coach Brown's phrase, and I love it, is great leaders take crises and turn them into positives. It's hard to turn COVID-19 into a positive, but somehow we can do it if we do it together, stay positive, and fight through all these challenging times with one another.
Well, I'm grateful to have your leadership at this time. Leaders are built for different times, and that we have your leadership, your long experience in our community, your long experience at the athletic department, that we're very lucky to have you there. I am grateful for your friendship. I am grateful for what is happening at our athletic department, the level of detail, the substantial planning that you're doing to keep your athletes safe, to keep your staff safe, to make sure that the guests have a safe experience and that our community remains healthy. It was a great presentation, Rick, and I'm grateful to spend time with you.
Thank you, Aaron. Great to be with you as always.
Well, thank you to the Chamber membership, and look forward to our next video. We'll talk to you soon.